Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And, of course, I could never do it without the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, master of the $1 million dream. It's Ted DiBiase. Ted, what's going on, brother?
Brother, it's all you. You know, I guess it's all about the money, honey. You know, that's what I would say. Or that's what the $1 million man would say. But no, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, Ted, and part of why I'm doing well is because I'm doing something that I know you really enjoy here on the show today. It's our 16th edition of Ask Ted Anything, and brother, your listeners brought it. You know, you put it out there on social, and holy smokes with the questions. It was awesome.
I will do the best I can.
Well, we are going to have some fun with it. I do just want to remind people that they can respond on Ted's social media to get their questions in, or a lot of people DM me. So you can DM me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on X. I will try to get to as many of these questions as I can. But as always, we're probably not going to make it through all of them because there's a ton of them. I will roll them over from episode to episode. So tune into the next one because the question that you ask now might get asked then. So stay tuned. And before we get into the questions, I do want to remind folks to get over to OneTrueSportTV.com and get subscribed. That's where you're going to find all of our exclusive content. We've got a bunch of people that are on board with this, and you've got opportunities for bonus episodes. You've got opportunities for Q&As and so much more. You've got to come in at the traveling champion level because that's the one where you get everything, and it's less than half of the cost of our competitors. So really, just go and check it out. At least give it a month and see if you like it. I know that you will. Again, it's OneTrueSportTV.com. Get over there and become a member. Okay, Ted, let's jump into these questions. We've got a lot of them. Clint Birkenholtz, I think is how you say it. He reached out to me on X. He said, can you ask Ted to give a typical day in the life of a pro wrestler on the road in the 80s and 90s? Where did you work out? Did you do any sightseeing? Did you have to eat out for every meal? Ted, before you answer that, before you and I hit record here, you were telling me that you just hit the gym today.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's the first day back in, and I'm going for it. You know, it's kind of like again, I'm 70 years old, and I haven't been in the gym in a while, and you know, and I'm also, I'll have to give my wife some credit. She gave me a little nudge, and I thanked her for it actually. You know? And yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'm going back to the gym for health, you know, and for that more than anything else. It's like my heart doctor, and I said, wait, heart doctor. I mean, it's like I don't have any heart issues. And actually, that doctor, the heart doctor, told me, he said, Ted, he says, I don't know what you'll die of. He says, but I doubt you ever die of a heart attack because he says you have the arteries of a much younger man. And I said, great. You know, I mean, there's like two major arteries. One goes into your heart and the other one comes out. And so as long as that baby keeps pumping, I'll be here.
Now, Ted, today you were in there getting a pump. You were doing some lifting. What can you tell us about your workout routine?
Well, you know, this was the first day back, and, you know, take into consideration, I'm 70. And so, and no free weight. Everything I did was with machines, you know, and I didn't have to have anybody spot me or stuff like that. But again, and you start slow. And so today, you know, my routine, I do push one day. Push means push chest, push shoulders, and push triceps. And then tomorrow I'll go back to the gym and I'll do back and biceps. And of course, your back is all pull. Mm-hmm. You know, and biceps is pull. So I do push one day, pull the next. and then take a break and hit it again. And what I want to try to do is get at least 4 workouts in a week. And on top of that, I'm trying to get a mile or 2 in every day walking. So
that's the fountain of youth, brother. You got to keep walking. You got to keep lifting and keep your muscles active. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. So I'm glad to hear it.
And you know what? If you don't use it, you lose it.
That's exactly it. Now, I do want to go back to Clint's question. Now that we've got that perspective that you've been working out, he did ask, when you're on the road in the 80s and 90s, where would you go to work out? Is it just any gym you can find?
Well, that's the thing. In the 80s and 90s, it's kind of like that's where, in the early 80s, I guess I started in 75. So the late 70s and the early 80s, obviously, for example, when I was in Mid-South the first time, I had an apartment in Baton Rouge. And in Baton Rouge, there was a gym there called Foxy's, and that's where everybody worked out. And it was kind of like you were in, like you might live in Baton Rouge, but Monday night you wrestled in New Orleans. That's only 80 miles away. And then Tuesday night you wrestle in Baton Rouge. And then Wednesday morning you get up and drive all the way to Shreveport to do the interviews for a TV taping that had already been taped. That was every Wednesday. Wednesday was a day maybe like off because you didn't have any time to get to the gym. We would do all our interviews for that week and get something to eat. Get in the car and drive 200 miles to Jackson, Mississippi.
Wow.
And wrestle in Jackson on Wednesday night and perhaps stay over there. But most everybody else, most of the guys would not, unless you had to go to Greenwood or Greenville, which is north of Jackson. Anyway, then Wednesday night, you drive back down to Baton Rouge where everybody lived. And so you could get a workout in the gym on Thursday, and then you could get a workout in the gym on Friday because each night you came back to your apartment. And then there were several places you could have been on Thursday and Friday. Anyway, it's crazy back then, fast forward to the WWE days. I mean, it was kind of like, the WWE, Vince would fly us in to say, for example, you flew into Chicago. Well, we would find the gym. Everybody would know where the gym is. And so like maybe you wrestle in Chicago, and then the next night you drive, what is it? I think maybe 100, I don't know, north of Chicago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then the next night, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then after Green Bay, drive all the way back down to Chicago. And then you get into Chicago so late, you don't have time to get to a gym. You just go to bed, get up, get on the next plane. But basically, we would try to get to a gym, and we knew the cities. We knew where everybody would stay basically at the same hotels, and would find that gym. And you just got into a routine, and then you sometimes, of course, had to, you had to change the routine based on the booking.
Now, did you like lifting, or was it like something you dreaded having to go do?
I never liked lifting. Well, and you could probably tell that by looking at me.
Now, when you weren't in the gym, what were you doing as far as your nutrition was concerned? Like, were you trying to watch what you eat, or just eat whatever you want?
Back then, it was kind of like, especially when you're driving around with somebody like Dick Murdoch, I know I didn't have a strict diet of any kind at all. Even now, I mean, it's kind of like you know, I try now. What my deal is, especially when I'm trying to lose weight, and I'm trying to lose some weight right now, is I go low carb, very low carb, because carbs are what give you energy, and if you don't burn the carbs that you take in, they go to fat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to eat as little carbohydrate as I possibly can. Try to, like there's a diet that's nothing but meat. And I can't remember what they call that.
The carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet, yeah. You're like a what do you call it? A prehistoric beast. just eat meat. I mean, or protein. Eggs. Eggs are all protein. Tuna, fish, whatever. But primarily, you eat. As little carbs as you can.
That doesn't sound like fun. All the good shit has carbs in it. Like pizza, hoagies, bagels. It's tough trying to keep yourself in shape, isn't it? Next up, we've got Jacob Hanover, who asks, what did you think of Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey, the Midnight Express?
They were a good team. They were a very good team together, and I enjoyed wrestling with those guys. And I'm training them in. And when that was Mid-South, right? Had to be.
Yeah, they were in numerous territories. They would go to JCP as well, but they were also in Mid-South.
Yeah, and I didn't. Great guys. Had no issues with any of them, and they were a good team. And I enjoyed working with them.
It's funny that Bobby Eaton gets brought up because today, as we're recording this, it's his birthday. And Bobby passed away back in 2021, unfortunately. But he's one of those guys who's viewed as an all-time great human being. I've never met anybody in wrestling who has a bad word to say about Bobby Eaton. Did you get to spend a lot of time around him personally?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of like he was in Mid-South, and it's like all the other guys. It's kind of like. And I don't know, wrestlers, it's kind of like, and I'm not sure, I mean, in other sports or whatever, it's kind of like one of those things, you get to know a bunch of guys and you're with them for a certain amount of time, and you might get close to, like you're closer to this guy than you are to that guy. And then, you go away, you don't see each other for like, who knows, a year, 2 years. And then the next time you see him, you just walk up and shake his hand, and you start right. You just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it was with most wrestlers.
It's funny because it's like, you'll go on and see a lot of these guys at conventions, and these are guys that you worked with. And like, so the fan perception is like, oh, well, like all these guys are friends and they've known each other for years and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it's like fans have got to look at this like a job. So imagine you had a job 15 years ago. And there's somebody that you work with there. And now when you go to conventions, you see them, whatever, once or twice a year. Like it's unlike it's a very unique situation where it's like, you might not be friends with somebody, but you can be friendly with them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a minute to discuss our fantastic sponsor that is changing the lives of men everywhere. Of course, we are talking about Blue Chew. Are you ready to perform with the confidence of the $1 million man in the bedroom? Are you ready to leave your partner feeling like $1 million? You're ready to get that thing so hard you could go hunting with it? If the answer to all those questions is yes, it's time for you to give Blue Chew a try. Blue Chew can help increase your performance and regain that old confidence where it counts the very most. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so that you can plan ahead or be ready when that opportunity springs up. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part of it, it's all done online. You can forget about those visits to the doctor's office, no more weird, awkward, uncomfortable conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy anymore. It comes right to you. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. But you know the drill, guys. There's not going to be anything discreet about your package. Men everywhere have never been more excited to see their mail carrier arrive, because when your package arrives, your package arrives. Listen, I know what your next question is. Will it actually work? Why don't you try it for free and find out for yourself? Something free from the $1 Million Man? That's right. You can try it right now for free. All you have to do is pay $5 shipping. That's it. Place your order now and give your partner a very pleasant surprise. Women are attracted to confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you confidence where it counts. Don't wait any longer. Time to chew it and do it. Take advantage of our special deal. Again, you can try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code EGAP at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code EGAP, and receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring Everybody's Got a Pod. Next up, we've got Nathan, who asks, what's your best Bruiser Brody story from outside the ring? You got any of those?
Oh, wow. Gosh, Bruiser Brody. Okay. My first encounter with Bruiser Brody, I'm not even sure that's what they were calling him then. When I flew into Shreveport, Louisiana, to start wrestling in the summer of 75. And I had just gotten out of my junior year of college. The guy that picked me up at the airport was Frank Goodish, whose wrestling name was Bruiser Brody.
How about that?
And I rode with him. The show that night was, I think, in Monroe, Louisiana, and then rode with him down to Baton Rouge, and but that was my first acquaintance with him. And good guy, nice guy.
You know, Nathan had a follow-up to his Bruiser Brody question that I wanted to ask you about, and I think that I know why he asked it, so let me do that setup first. Ted, did you ever hear about the match between Bruiser Brody and Lex Luger, where Bruiser refused to sell anything that Luger was doing?
No.
Yeah, so he wouldn't sell anything for Luger at all in the ring, where Luger's like, he's trying to work with him, and Brody just was not doing it. And so Luger is still green at the time, so he just is like, I'm just going to leave the ring, I guess. So he just left, walked out, and got like counted out, and that's the end of the match. And so Nathan has followed up the question with, did you ever refuse to work with anyone? So that's why I'm guessing that's why he wanted to follow up the Bruiser Brody question with that.
No, I never refused to work with anybody. And it's funny that I hadn't ever heard that story.
Yeah. Never before.
No,
there's footage of it out there, and it's pretty wild, where Luger's taking swings at him, and Brody's just standing there not doing anything. And the rumor,
I guess my question would be, was Brody's issue with Luger or the promotion?
I would guess probably the office, but I think another part of it was that the office was pushing this green guy because of his look. And I think that Brody, at least that this is sort of like the narrative that we've heard over the years, like Brody just didn't respect that idea. Like, okay, this guy's getting a push because he looks like $1 million. Like that's bullshit. And so he wouldn't sell for the guy.
Well, quite frankly, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like, you're not going to get the spot just because you've got this, enormous. I mean, obviously it takes a lot of time and a lot of discipline to have a body like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I was old school, and most of the early guys that went to work for Vince were also old school. In other words, you learn the trade by doing it every night in the ring. And you're with somebody, you may be different every night, but that guy is leading you around the ring by your nose. you learn it as you go.
And I'm with you where it's like I don't know about doing that in the ring, but I'm with the mindset where it's like just because having a good look is one element among the many elements that you need
Yeah.
to be a good wrestler. You've got to be good on the mic, you've got to have charisma, you've got to be able to handle the life, the road. So there's a lot that goes into it, and so I can understand Brody being a little bit frustrated.
And the other thing is, if you just do it like off the cuff, it's like, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be. It can't be. I don't know, because you've got a potentially big guy that you're going to try to get over. But even I today would say you don't sacrifice one of the biggest guys who's already over to this guy for nothing.
Just for the sake of attempting to get him over. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if you want to do something, the old school way is, he beats all these underlings, and then he finally gets a shot at Brody. Because, obviously Brody's been there longer than him. Right?
Yep. And even after he beats all the underlings, he should do the job for Brody because Brody's established, but he can push Brody to the limit, so there's ways to have your cake and eat it too.
What territory was that in?
I do not recall. I want to say possibly Florida before Luger maybe went to JCP, but I don't know that for sure. So I'll have to look it up, and I'll have to find the footage so you can watch it.
Who was the booker?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some digging, and maybe I'll even find the clip so that you can see for yourself. Next up, we've got Randy Buckler, who asks, of all the matches you have had, what's the one match that you want to be remembered for? Ted, let me rephrase that another way. Your grandchildren say, like, "Hey, Grandpa, show us one match from your wrestling career." Which one are you showing?
I'm telling you, it's like I get this question all the time, and I think what fans need to understand that, I'll take an actor, for example. An actor in his lifetime, maybe 20 or 30, motion pictures. I don't know how, but a movie star, and rises to the top, and then you ask that movie star, what was your favorite movie? It would be easier to answer that question than would it be to answer the question that, we wrestled every night. We wrestled, oh my gosh. There's 365 days in the year. I guarantee you 300 of them we wrestled. It was brutal. And of course now it's so different now. They might work 4 days a week and go home 3 every week. Well, I'm the guy who paved the path for that. That wasn't the case in my era. So to pick one match, I'll do this. My favorite WrestleMania match was with Jake Roberts.
Wow.
Because I think it was WrestleMania 6 that we wrestled each other.
It was.
And I believe it was in Canada. And he and I both grew up in wrestling, both had fathers that were wrestlers. And so we shared the same psychology of wrestling. And so it was just so easy to have a match with Jake. And I don't know what Jake would say,
Jake has put over that match too. I've talked to him about it personally. What's really cool and interesting about that for me is that, for perspective, you once main evented a WrestleMania against Randy Savage, but still what you did with Jake is the one that stands out to you the most, which really tells you something about the kind of chemistry that you and Jake shared in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And too, again, the WrestleMania, WrestleMania 4 with Randy, again, and I had the opportunity to wrestle Randy a lot more after that as well, going all around the circuit. And I never had any trouble with Randy, and it's a lot of people did have trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have trouble with Randy. I said, it's kind of like, basically, I turned Randy Savage babyface because up until he wrestled me at WrestleMania 4, he'd been a heel. Correct?
Yes. And man, you wound up having a ton of great matches with him, including a cage match in Madison Square Garden that you and I talked about, and that one is considered one of your all-time great matches.
And okay, you just took the words out of my mouth, and I said, and I was about to say, the one other match that was a main event at Madison Square Garden, doesn't get any better than that, was with Randy in the cage, and yeah, man, that was awesome.
Footage of it is out there, folks. If you've never seen it, do yourself a favor, go and check it out. It's kind of like that's your guide for good cage matches. If you're a young wrestler, I would maybe consider doing what they did there, at least some version of it.
I remember when we were discussing the match at WrestleMania 4, and we went over the whole thing and everything, and I can remember we were going over it and everything, and I told Randy, I just told him, I said, look, I know you're very, like, he really liked to map it out.
Yeah.
I mean, like every we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. And I just told him this. I said, Randy, we're going to do all of this. I said, but just give me this. If I feel something in the match, and that's how I work, by feel. And I vary from this for a minute in terms of the heat or whatever. Always know that we're going to come back to this. And this finish is going to come off just like it's supposed to. And, and he looked at me and God bless her, Elizabeth was sitting there right with him, said, you can do that, Randy. And he says, okay, brother, I can do it. And we had and that might be, again,
hard to pick just one, isn't it?
That might again be one of the best matches I had.
Well, hard to pick with you, especially because you had great matches with basically everybody you stepped into the ring with. I go back and watch a lot of your footage, as I'm doing research for episodes and stuff, and it's pretty hard to find a stinker. So it says a lot about your ring skill. Next up, we've got Christopher Burkett, who asks, who do you think the $1 Million Man would have had a better program with? Attitude Era Steve Austin or 1989 Ric Flair? Now, that is a great question. So I know you worked with Ric Flair, but you never had a program with him. And obviously you never got one with Attitude Era Steve Austin. So, man, that's...
I managed him.
Yeah.
I mean, when Steve first started, I was his manager.
Yeah. So of course you never got to work a program.
I think probably Ric Flair, because again, even Steve Austin, Steve Austin was, bang, bang, shoot him up, Steve was not a down on the mat man type of wrestler. And the thing I could do with Ric Flair, that I could not do with just everybody is, it's like have the type of match that could go an hour.
Yes. Because
to have that kind of match, you got to tell a story a short, and build it up, and it's kind of like, basically, I say, you make the baby face shine, and as a heel, you get frustrated because everything you're trying is not working, and then you finally pick a spot where you do something and you heel on him and you get him down and you beat him down and you beat him down, and then maybe you don't beat him down too bad, and then you actually maybe give him just maybe the beginning of a comeback and then cut him off again. And then really put the boots to him and that worked through when he's like you're lifting the hand and drop, and lifting the hand and drop, and finally he says, I'm still here, and he works his way to his feet, makes the great big comeback. And then you do whatever you're going to do. Either at the end of the big comeback at the plateau, he either wins or you screw him.
Yeah.
And of course, in this case, I put him over, and he becomes the new champion and a babyface.
Well, you just laid out the whole thing with yourself and Flair there, and let me say that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Now, 1989 Ric Flair, that was the year that he had that incredible series of matches with Ricky Steamboat, which were just unbelievable. They're still hailed today as some of the best matches ever. So I think that you in 1989 Flair, because again, as a reminder, 35 years ago, this was around the time that Meltzer was saying that he thought that you were the best wrestler on the face of the planet in 1989. So 35 years Dave Meltzer said he felt that you were, if not the best, one of the best wrestlers on the face of the planet in 1989.
Yeah.
So it's you and Flair who were probably 1 and 2 as far as ring work is concerned at the time. So the matches would be phenomenal. For me personally, Ted, from a storytelling standpoint, Steve Austin is that like anti-corporate, that just I do whatever I want kind of a badass.
Yeah.
And you're Mr. Bought and Paid For. So, boy, the storytelling between you and Austin, that would have been something.
Yeah, and but I would have to obviously, and you have to work to the guy's character as well.
Yes.
See, Flair and I had no trouble. I mean, going the old school route, and an hour long. I've done several hour long Broadways. I think I did one of them with him in St. Louis.
Wow.
Where we went 30 minutes to a draw. I can't be for sure.
I know that you and he worked at least once, and probably more than once, in Mid-South. There's footage out there, and apparently that match is absolutely incredible. So I hope you and I can watch that back at some point. But yeah, it's there's no doubt about it that you and Flair would have been putting on these epic matches, and certainly done hour-long Broadways or 30-minute or whatever it happened to be, and put on some phenomenal matches. I don't know though. It's a really good question there from Christopher, though, because I do think it's the story of, okay, who would have better ring chemistry with? Probably Flair. Who might be the better fit as a story? Man, the $1 Million Man trying to pay off Steve Austin and getting beat up as a result of it. That could just be fun stuff.
I don't know.
You're still leaning toward Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you though. Those matches would have been great. Okay, guys, let's take a quick minute to talk about our sponsor, Mando. Holy smokes, I love these guys. And there's a good reason why. If you're like me, you end up in the airport quite a bit. And I always come up with this conundrum where I'm like, I don't know what to pack. I pack too much. Sometimes I don't pack enough. My suitcase will exceed the weight limit. And don't even get me started on hygiene products. Do I bring the little shampoo? Do I need a whole face wash? Body wash? Is the hotel I'm going to be going to, are they providing any of this stuff? Do I pour my shampoo into that tiny little travel size bottle? Where do I even get those things? It's such a mess trying to get yourself gathered that Mando has provided me with one solution. I was able to simplify my travel with Mando's 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar. Guys, I wish you could be here to smell this as I open this box up. You can see it was kind of pre-opened, but every time I open it back up, I get this awesome, amazing smell of these Mando products. And here we go. Here's the acidified cleansing bar that we were talking about just now. This thing is incredible. It's a 5-ounce bar that does the work of a shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant. I mean, look, there's always those jokes out there about how guys like, a 16-in-1 body wash. Well, that's for real. And they've actually got you pretty well covered on this thing. This acidified cleansing bar smells absolutely amazing, so fresh, and it's clinically proven to control body odor for 24 hours. Mando's acidified cleansing bar is formulated with a gentle alpha hydroxy acid that stops odor at the source. Regular soap can't do that because the pH is too high. Now look, I don't know what all that stuff means, alpha hydroxy or pH levels or whatever. I'm no scientist or anything. What I do know though is that I use this after I have a really hard day at the gym or after I'm done training at the wrestling facility, and it works. It's going to simplify your hygiene routine, and really, when you take a trip, it's the only thing you need to pack. That's what I've been taking with me anytime I go on the road, which is fairly often, and it has made my life so incredibly easy. You guys have already heard me talk about the bourbon leather. That is one of my favorite smells. It's sweet, sophisticated, but Mount Fuji, which is what this bar is, that's got a fresh woodsy type smell. And then there's the Pro Sport, which is the scent that they use on the Invisible Cream deodorant. Guys, they've got so many great options and so many ways to keep yourself smelling fresh. Truly, I cannot recommend Mando strongly enough. I've also got the guys at the wrestling training facility on it, and they all swear by it. So if you can get a bunch of wrestlers to agree that this is the way to go so you don't smell awful after a hard training session, you know that it's going to work for you. Not to mention, it checks every other box too. It's a whole body deodorant, so it's safe to use anywhere on your body. We're talking about pits, packages, belly buttons, butt cracks, stinky crevices, stomach folds, and feet. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, cruelty-free, dye-free, and vegan. I mean, honestly, there are no negatives to using this product. It's one of my favorite things that I use, and I really mean this. It doesn't matter if they continue to sponsor the podcast or not. I'm going to be a Mando guy for the rest of my life. I absolutely love this product. And by the way, their starter pack is absolutely perfect for new customers. If you're not familiar with the Mando line, this is where you begin. Grab this starter pack. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or deodorant wipes. I very strongly recommend that you guys try out the acidified body wash and that bourbon leather scent. And by the way, when it's all said and done, you get free shipping. Lucky for you, I've got a discount code, and it's going to help you get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% of your starter pack. All you've got to do is use code EGAP at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com, shopmando.com, and use that code EGAP. Again, you're going to save $5 off that starter pack. 40% of the value of that starter pack gone right then and there, and you get free shipping. Come on, guys, you don't stand to lose anything. You've got to try Mando, the best smelling whole body deodorant on the market. Next up, we've got Aaron Gaines, who asks, what stipulation match was your favorite? Ted, did you have one you like the most?
Oh gosh, not really. I mean, I've done them pretty much. I've done them all. I've done, I've been in a steel cage. I've done the the gimmick match of all gimmick matches in New Orleans. Here were all the stipulations. Loser leave town. In a steel cage with a coal miner's glove attached to a 12-foot pole that's in the corner. So you're in a cage, big pole, coal miner's glove. Whoever gets the glove gets to use it.
And were you guys also wearing tuxedos? Or am I misremembering that?
You know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. I think we were wearing tuxedos too. Was that me and Duggan?
Yes.
Yeah. I love Jim. I told him, I said, you still look like a lion in a suit.
With the hair. He does. Oh my gosh. He does. Thinking back on it. But oh man, yeah, that is the gimmick match to end all gimmick matches. Holy smokes. Bill Watts put everything in there, huh?
Yeah.
We'll do a few more, Ted, and then I'll let you go. And Kevin Hammond has got one that sort of relates kind of to the question that Christopher asked there before. He says, you named Bret Hart and Ricky Steamboat as some of the best wrestlers of all time, and Ric Flair is another one who's considered an all-time great. I know it's hard to be objective, but do you feel that you were a better worker than all of them? Well, that's a good question.
No, I don't feel like I was a better worker than any of them. I think that I was an equal to all of them. It's like, me and Ricky Steamboat, and I can't remember, we had one match. And we tore the house down. And after that match, I said, Rick, I said, it's just a shame that you and I never had the opportunity to have a program together. Again, I do, Ricky Steamboat. In terms of wrestling old school way, I mean, on the mat, forget all the gimmicks. Two guys go in the ring and they tear the house down. Without a bunch of gimmicks. I would put Ricky Steamboat as one of those guys, and again, Ric Flair is another one of those guys.
We'll do one more and wrap this one up. Kenneth asks, do you think it's a big deal that wrestlers are so much smaller nowadays? Seems like most guys are under 6 feet tall. Ted, before you answer that question, Kevin Nash has said many times he used to call the small guys in WCW vanilla midgets, which is meaning like they don't have super big personalities, but they're great workers, and they're all small. And Kevin has also said over the years that, like, and in a very Kevin Nash way, he would put it, when you watch a porn, if the guy's got a really small member, you're not all that interested in it. He said,
do what? He said what?
So the way that Kevin Nash explains it, the size in wrestling thing, is he says, if you're watching a porn and the guy in the porn has got a really small member, you're not all that interested in it. He said, and he compared that to wrestling. He's like, you want a big over-the-top guy in wrestling. That's what built wrestling. He said, so he's saying that these vanilla midgets, as he called them, these little guys, killed wrestling as we know it. Ted, would you agree with that assessment?
Not really. I mean, there's room for all. It's kind of like the diversity is what I think. It's like, it's kind of like when you go to a circus. There's the bearded lady and there's the whatever. There's all these different characters in a if you go to the circus, and they're all doing different things. But when you put all those different things together, it's one show. And so when you put on a wrestling event, you don't want to have 6 matches where everybody's 6'6" and weighs 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have diversity, and in a lot of ways, it's good when the smaller guy can outfox the big guy and beat him. Yes,
good storytelling device.
That's the deal. It's the storytelling. It's not the size. It's kind of like porn. Like I think porn is probably the only place where size matters. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty funny way to make his case was to compare it to porn, but yeah, man, it's.
I don't know, Kevin. I'm not really into porn.
It's interesting, and I think it was Dusty Rhodes. It may have been Dusty who said that wrestling should be like a buffet, where there's a little something for everybody.
And that's exactly right. And that's exactly how I feel. And, it used to be that way. It's kind of like, I don't know. I haven't watched enough wrestling lately, to be honest, to be a critic. Mm-hmm. But, what little I do see is, especially with the guys, with the men, they're going in the ring and they're doing these routines and they're taking unbelievable bumps, but there's no story. I don't know. It just, I don't want to knock anybody or anything. I mean, I think, and again, another guy that is a very good wrestler that still has old school in him, Cody Rhodes.
Yes, he does.
Okay. And why is Cody so good? And why is Cody a star? Because look at his background. Look what he came from.
Yep.
But his daddy was one of the very best.
And you could say that about a lot of the guys that are working on top today, or who are the most respected workers today. Roman Reigns, in his own right, has become a really respected worker. His father was Sika. Randy Orton. There's lineage means something in this business, because
Yeah.
they were brought up with these certain beliefs that, like, here's how you tell a story in the ring. Here's what wrestling is about. You know,
Yeah.
it's not about the crazy moves. It's about telling a story out there.
And I don't want any of the fans out there to think that I'm anti the business now. And, you know, I will always love the wrestling business. And I see, here's the thing, you know, everybody can have an opinion, you know, and it's like, I'm not there every day, you know, and all the other guys, you know, some of my, you know, like Michael Hayes, you know, he's still there, you know, but I just know what I see. And I know what I hear, you know, and I truly, I hear this from fans. You know, I go and I do like an autograph signing or something somewhere, and the fans will come up and say, you know, wrestling just not like it used to be, you know, and I don't get into it at all. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with you, you know, but that's basically what they're saying. It's kind of like, okay, here's a good example. You know, I love to go to the movies, but you know, so many movies that I go to today, it's just all about things blowing up and bang, bang, boom. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You got a lot of action, but tell me a good story. And again, I mean, even in motion pictures, you know, it's like the movies that is not necessarily a blockbuster because it's a bang 'em up, shoot 'em up, but because it's telling an intriguing story. Those are the ones that everybody loves.
Yep.
So,
And I think,
know, to all those guys out there that are looking at being a wrestler or want to be a wrestler, who are wrestlers and might listen to this podcast, you know, that's about, it's the storytelling. You know, when you can tell that good story, when you can make that story, you know, everybody knows wrestling is show business. But here was what I grew up in an era who was still protecting wrestling. That, you know, it's like you know, when you go to a circus, you know, that magician can't really make that elephant disappear or the rabbit, whatever, but you just don't know how he did it. Okay.
yep.
Well, that's how wrestling used to be. You know, like, well, wrestling is sports entertainment, you know, and I would hear that. And I say, you know, those first couple of matches, they weren't real. But those guys in the last match, man, they were, you know, they got mad at each other. They were going for it. No, they weren't going for it. They just loved what they do enough to make it look as real as possible. And that's the difference. And you got to tell the story. And if all your story is going out there and taking a triple back somersault over the top rope and hitting the ground like a whatever, and then bouncing up like nothing happened, that's not a good story.
I can
Anyway,
agree more.
Go on and on and on.
Well, I'll tell you, Ted, you made a lot of good points, and telling a story is never going to go out of fashion. And that's what we're doing here on the show, brother. I appreciate your time again today, and we'll be back telling more stories next week, right?
That's right. And remember, as always, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Catch you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.
Telling all the fights, fist drop, $1 million dreams, tell them all good night. Everybody's got a pod, everybody's